Should a high school teacher convicted of possessing child pornography be allowed to collect his pension? It's a hot-button issue, but also a complicated legal question that has reached the state's Supreme Judicial Court. The court is expected to issue its ruling tomorrow, and it could have far-reaching consequences. Ronald Garney was a science teacher for over 20 years at Amherst Regional High School. But in 2007, he pled guilty to possessing child pornography after investigators found a large collection in his home. The Massachusetts Teachers Retirement System then took away Garney's pension, and he sued. In court filings, Garney's attorney argues that none of the illicit images depicted his students, and he did not use his position to facilitate the crime. But the Teachers Retirement System argues that he forfeited his pension because teachers have a broader duty to protect children. So should a teacher have to forfeit their pension for crimes committed outside of the job? I'm joined now by former Massachusetts State Treasurer Tim Cahill, who served on the board of the Massachusetts Retirement System. Welcome back to Greater Boston.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
So one of the problems with this case is he's a very unsympathetic figure.
Correct.
Pled guilty, did his time. I believe he might have moved out of state because he's not in the sex offenders registry in this state anyway. So there's no question what he did was awful, disgusting. But is he in one of those gray areas where, in a sense, he probably still deserves the pension?
I think, based on our history, he's in the gray area where he probably doesn't deserve his pension because it's not quite as clear-cut as the Jack Bulger case, but I dealt with a similar type of case when I was Treasurer of the Commonwealth, where we took a pension away from someone, Jack Bulger, who had committed a crime and been convicted of that crime, even though it wasn't directly related to his job, but it was part of the overall responsibilities of it.
We should clarify, he was Whitey Bulger's brother.
Right.
And he testified that he had had no contact and no knowledge of his whereabouts or a safe deposit box or the contents of it. He lied, and
he was a clerk magistrate, so he was sworn to uphold the law, and our argument was he failed in that responsibility in this case. Even though it wasn't directly related, it was part of his overall job responsibility. And I've been thinking about this since I got the call today, as far as a teacher's overall job responsibility is to educate and to keep safe children, especially young children, which I think this teacher was a teacher of young children. And to be doing what he admitted to doing, I think the Teachers Retirement Board was within their rights, and I hope that the Supreme Court, as they did with the Bulger case, upholds it, and that's what happened with us. We eventually was upheld by the state Supreme Court, 8-0 unanimous decision, and I think this is very similar, not exactly the same, but very similar situation.
Well, a lot of states have much more stringent rules when it comes to what qualifies to having your pension taken away. Many of them, any misdemeanor conviction, any felony conviction, that's it.
Right.
But we really don't have that. For instance, if this guy was a drunken driver and had killed a child, would that qualify? I mean, it had nothing to do with his job as a school teacher, yet he did something. So wouldn't that fall into a gray area?
It could. I mean, it is gray, and I think the benefit of the doubt does go to the retiree, which I don't have a problem with. But again, when they cross over that line, which I think in this case, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to prejudge, but he did admit to the crime. It's a heinous crime, and he was responsible for children his whole career. And I mean, in the Bulger case, Mr. Bulger swore to uphold the Constitution. That was part of his job. I don't know whether tenure or whether a contract a teacher signs has the same force of law, and I guess that's what the justices will decide. But I see similarities here. And if it was me serving as the chairman of the retirement board, I would have done exactly what the Teachers Retirement Board leaders did.
Well, a teacher is required to report if they think a child is being abused.
Correct.
And now, of course, even goes further than that, the bullying law.
Correct.
So if he saw pictures of children, I think they were like, well, he taught ninth grade. I don't know how old the kids were in the pictures, but I mean, child pornography by its definition is, child abuse.
Yeah.
So
it was somebody's kids.
Yeah.
Some teachers' children that he was witnessing or played a role in. So, and I understand that everyone without regard to the law says, don't give this guy back his pension. I understand the emotion of it.
Yeah.
Taking the emotion out, which we try to do in these situations, and I think the Teachers Retirement Board probably tries to do, and I know the justices will do. I think on the law, they have every right to deny him his pension based on what he admitted he did and how he conducted himself. And that's not the way he would never have been hired. And I assume he was fired, or if he wasn't fired, he would never be hired again for what he did. So I think they're within their rights. And as you said, we are liberal in terms of allowing, people to kind of go out, do a lot of things and still keep their pension. I don't think they should be allowed to keep their pension in a situation like this. And I wouldn't vote to do it myself. And again, I think the justices, given the Bulger case, have a precedent that sort of puts a little bit of a darker gray line in there, and that's what we were trying to do, is make it very clear that if you have a pension, and the reason we always did it, we kind of tried to see things in black and white, is for the folks who got their pensions and deserved it. We wanted to try to keep the system as clean as possible so that the public would say, all right, these people who earn their pension should get it, and the ones who break the law shouldn't. I
know, but you can break the laws 11 ways to Sunday, as I understand it, and still get your Social Security. And so these people their state employees, they don't get Social Security. Again, I have no sympathy here, but this would impoverish this guy, assumingly he's really unhirable.
Yeah, and I'm not looking to punish him more than he's been punished, okay? But again, the rules are the rules. And I think in this case, there is enough of a legal line there that the justices could rule, and they could choose not to rule and give him his pension. That's their job. I believe that the Retirement Board did its job. And again, sometimes they get overruled, sometimes it gets upheld. Just like when we made our decision, most of the lawyers thought we were going to lose. They thought the case was not winnable. But we made a very strong case, and I think it was the right decision at the end, even though you don't like to take anyone's pension away from them when they've worked and they've earned it, unless it's unless it's clearly direct. But again, those are the rules, and the rules are made for those people who follow, who do the right thing. And I don't think in no case did this teacher do the right thing.
No case. It's really creepy to sum it up. All right. Jim Cahill.
Thank you.
Thanks for
having me.